Well, hello, ladies and gents. It's me, PepperBelly, with a impressions video, a long overdue impressions video for America's Army Proving Grounds. In my last video, I was all like, "Yeah, man, I'm back. Oh my God, what's up? PepperBelly's back with some," and then I just disappeared. Like I just vanished into smoke. I made one of those homemade smoke grenades out of like Christmas ornaments and just threw it at the ground, and it shattered, and smoke just dispersed everywhere. And then as the smoke cleared, I was just gone, like fucking like ninjas, man. I'm a ninja. You don't know that. Probably should keep that on the down low, because, gotta protect my identity, you know how it is. Anyway, so, the weather's holding up nicely outside. I'm looking out in the distance, and I see ridiculous amounts of lightning. It's actually kind of interesting. It's kind of messed up, because I woke up this morning, I was like, hey, it's, nice weather, it's warm out. It's actually the hottest day that's been since I've been back, so I was kind of, happy with that. And then I'm seeing all these trees, like, blowing all over the place, oh, there's a good breeze out there. So thinking, it's going to be like a decent breeze. I'm going to open all the windows and let some air circulate inside and cool myself off. And I opened the window and it was like opening a fucking oven. Like I got hit with like the hottest air ever, and it just completely defeated the point. The whole purpose of even opening that was rendered mute. Like it was pretty stupid. But anyway, I'm going to talk about America's Army Proving Grounds now, because I'm going to tell you my personal thoughts and opinions on it. I approximately put in 2 hours into this beta so far. It's in beta stage, and it's actually a pretty impressive title for what it is, and considering it's free. So there's nothing that you can possibly have go wrong with this game in terms of it being free and you spending money on it and being pissed off with the actual product. Because the product itself is pretty damn solid. It's made on the Unreal Engine. Unfortunately, aliasing, if you're into that kind of thing, like using AA or FXA and trying to inject it manually into the game, doesn't really work quite yet. It's kind of glitchy and finicky. Some people manage to get it to work, some people can't. Regardless, the game still looks pretty. Like, it still looks good. I mean, you're looking at the interiors now. I love all the levels in this, and it's pretty fucking solid looking, and it's a great overall experience. Now, getting into it, is it an America's Army title? Does it warrant the actual title America's Army? Yes and no, and I'm going to pretty much cover that over the course of this video, because yes, being that it's based on the US military, ooh, would you look at that, but also the fact that it doesn't have the same things that the previous America's Army games had, like the training environments. You'd actually have to go, like America's Army 1 and 2, and even 3, you'd have to go through training, progress your character before you were even allowed to go on deployment, which is playing online. You had to complete various training scenarios, like doing obstacle courses, weapons familiarization, qualifying on certain weapons. In order to be able to use certain weapons online, you have to qualify on them, which is extremely realistic. That's the way it actually is in real life. If you do not qualify on a certain weapon, you are not allowed to use that weapon. Simple as that. I mean, you can get qualified on it later. Same thing as it lets you do in the game. But it's, for deployment purposes, it actually gives you a purpose to train and utilize those training environments to simulate what it's actually like to be in the military. Considering America's Army back in the day was actually originally a recruitment tool, that's the reason why it was given away free, and it was funded by the US military. That is why the game is what it is. That's why it has pretty in-depth, pretty decent, really realistic training environments. Like, I mean, I remember playing America's Army 2 and 1, sitting in a fucking classroom, learning first aid. Like, that was pretty significant to me. When I was playing that game, I thought it was really, really cool. I enjoyed it. You actually have to complete a written test to verify that you know the knowledge that they taught you. And by doing so, you are allowed to go online and hold down one fucking button to heal your teammate. Well, in America's Army Proving Ground, it essentially keeps all the same traits. You can secure guys, which is an America's Army 3 feature, which you just saw me do right there. You basically can go up and you can secure an enemy, and by doing so, they are no longer allowed to be revived. So if you shoot an enemy and he goes down, and then you secure him, he has like a 10-second window for his teammate to come and save his ass, so he can revive him. Otherwise, he just disappears, and he's not going to be able to get back in the game after that. So basically, you're going to want to secure as many enemies as you can when you down them, unless they're shot in the face and they're fucking dead. Like, if you shoot them in the head or something with a lethal round, a lethal shot, then they're not going to be able to get back in the game regardless of what you want to do. So the game does offer the same features that previous American Army games have, and it does it better. I mean, I actually was pretty impressed with the fact that they actually have animations now that are more realistic looking whenever you're healing your teammates. It's nothing fancy, it's just you take out a roll of gauze and you kind of just stretch it open and you put it on them, and then boom, that's you healing buddy. That's all it is. And if you're bandaging yourself, that's pretty realistic as well. If you don't bandage yourself in time, you'll slowly bleed out. So it's actually pretty good in terms of how it was with previous America's Army games. However, the actual gameplay is significantly more fast-paced, as you can probably tell. You're looking at this, even the developer himself, who was talking with Sorelin, one of the guys that developed the game, or Takedown Red Saber at PAX, even said himself that he has nothing to worry about in terms of competition between this and Takedown Red Saber, because, I quote, as accurately as I can remember it, that he said basically America's Army Proving Grounds was more Call of Duty-fied. It was basically to cater to those who love Call of Duty run and gun style shit, but keeping some of the realism and some of the authenticity there, and it does a fairly good job of it. Now, it's not stupidly Call of Duty-fied. Like, I'm not saying it's like, oh, you're running and gunning, fucking 360 no-scopes and shit. It is realistic, and one thing I actually love about this game is the fact that semi-automatic is lethal. Not very many games that you'll play where semi-automatic fire is actually lethal. Now, this game does it to an extent. It's not like you can go into a corner, fire 2 shots at a guy, like double tap him, and he's done for good. It doesn't work that way. It's still a video game, it's still America's Army, and there's still health systems kind of put in there, unfortunately. So it's not going to be as realistic as, say, Takedown Red Saber will be in terms of ballistics and actual weapon damage and lethality. Lethality is a major component in games that are realistic. You play games like Arma 3, previous Rainbow Six games, like way back in the day, Ghost Recon games, the old America's Army games. You play games like that wherever you get shot once, even the SWAT games, for example, you get hit once, and that round will fuck up your day. One round will significantly hamper your performance in the game, and that's something I enjoy thoroughly in realistic games. America's Army kind of had a half and half with that. Previous games had it realistic, where if you got shot or tagged in the leg, you would be slowly maneuvering through the environment. If you got hit in the arm, you'd actually be reduced. Things like that. Very realistic outcomes for what would actually happen if you were fucking shot. There was no, oh, okay, I got hit, wait in a corner until my screen clears up, and then I'm good to go until I wipe the red smushy fucking raspberry juice off my face, and then I can go back into combat, no problem. That wasn't there in games like that. America's Army kept that same thing, except for America's Army Proving Ground. This game kind of got rid of that whole system, where basically you get hit, and your health will deplete depending on how lethal and how damaging the round was where you were hit. And according to that, basically all you have to do is bandage yourself, and you're good to go. You can sprint around, do everything as you were before. Doesn't really affect any of your players' traits at all in terms of like getting wounded, affecting your accuracy, affecting your movement speed. That stuff just does not happen in this, and I don't know why. Like I said, they kind of made it more arcadey, but in a sense, it's still a very enjoyable game nonetheless. Now, I noticed what they were trying to do with this game. America's Army Proving Grounds, the whole thing of Proving Grounds, is essentially that you guys are in squads, and you're going through training together. These are scenarios. So this isn't actual online, or this isn't real deployment, is what they're trying to show. You're basically going up against each other with the same weapons that you would have, as if you're going through a training scenario like we do in real life. So whether you'll be using wet gear, simunition, shit like that, even just blanks, but obviously blanks are extremely different in how you would train, because there's no real way of detecting that you actually shot somebody other than having referees. And even then, that is nowhere near as accurate as using a wet gear, which is basically the super advanced laser tag, or simunition, which is basically paintball on steroids, which is probably my personal favorite, other than the fact you have to wear a mask. Now, the thing with authenticity there is the fact that this game actually has, if you go into the player experience tab in the options menu, you can turn on simulated like paint capsules. I don't know exactly what it's called, but basically it simulates that you're training with paint. Simunition, essentially. In that sense, I understand that it kind of makes it more realistic in a sense that you're training with squad members. You're not trying to actually kill each other. You're just firing cartridges that have paint tips on the end. So they're actual live rounds. The only thing you really need to change is the bolt itself. Most weapons, that's how it operates. All you have to do is just change the bolt so you get accustomed to the new round. Sometimes you have to change the bore, which is basically the barrel, the receiver. The upper receiver has to change. It really depends on the type of simunition you are using. But the fact that it actually allows you to do that and doesn't really affect anything else. You get hit, you still fall over like you were shot, kind of thing. You get shot in the face, which is another thing. Getting shot in the face, if you turn on that whole simunition type thing, typically you're supposed to wear a mask and protective gear because you're firing high velocity rounds, not like sound barrier breaking. The whole fucking paint castle would be destroyed if it was breaking the sound barrier. But you're firing subsonic rounds around 800 feet per second, roughly that. I don't remember the exact velocity, but a pretty high velocity round. Fast enough that if you get hit with it, it's faster than anything you'll ever experience in a civilian type recreational sport like airsoft or paintball or anything like that. It'll fucking hurt. If you get shot with simunition, it kills. It's excruciatingly painful. You will bleed every fucking time, guaranteed. If you're hit on flesh, hit where you got no protective padding, shit like that, it'll fucking hurt. I know this from personal experience, dude. It hurts. But, regardless of what they do, they don't have masks in this game to simulate them actually wearing, going through simulation training. Their fucking mask, their face is fully exposed. So if they got shot in the face with a simulation round, first of all, you'd be in a lot of trouble health-wise because, if you got that in the eye, yeah, good luck. Your military career is pretty much over. And that's why I don't understand why they have simulation in this when your characters don't look so to the part of having simulation using those type of training environments. Regardless, the game actually looks fantastic. The environments and the maps are very well designed. I actually really liked the maps, the interiors. The bridge mission was remade from the previous America's Army games, one of the most popular maps you'll ever experience in the America's Army series. And they rehauled it to make it kind of more trainee-ish, more kind of like, you got fucking boarded up stuff to simulate that you're training, I guess. You see kill houses and stuff like that. They're never made of perfect fucking materials like this hospital is. This hospital looks fantastic. You're basically going through essentially this really nice looking hospital that's all fancy dancy and pretty looking, and essentially you would not be training in an environment this fancy ever, really, unless you're going like on a high budget thing, and you would not be firing simunition, I can tell you that for sure. But firing simunition in an environment like this would be ridiculous. Regardless, the game looks great, it plays great, it's fluid, it's smooth, it's responsive. All those things are still good. And overall, for a free game, you cannot go wrong. Now, the characters themselves, the actual details on the soldier mechanic, or on the soldier in first person, like seeing your arm, the way he kind of lowers the weapon into the low ready, because, most shooters, you always see them, they're always shouldering the weapon, 100% of the time. Now, yeah, we're trained to shoulder the weapons, like, you should be shouldering the weapon. A lot of people, considering fatigue and all this stuff as it sets in over time, whenever you're soldiering through whatever the fuck it is you're doing, you're gonna get tired. Holding that weapon to shoulder 24/7 gets exhausting as hell. It's not a heavy weapon, but over time, especially if you have an M203 on the end of it, or you have a lot of attachments depending on the way your weapon's designed, rails on it, etc., it'll weigh the weapon down, especially in the front where your left or right arm, depending on which one's in front. In this case, it's his left arm. It would be exhausting as fuck. And you start to shake, your muscles start to contract and get all fucking weak, and then your accuracy is severely affected because you're shaking, and you're not, it's basically the position of hold, which is when you're aiming through your sight, and you're, the sway you see in video games all the time, where it sways left and right slowly, that kind of thing, up and down. Basically, that'll turn into, a jittering, ridiculous motion of, holy shit, I cannot fucking, you're shaking a lot. It's the only way I can really describe it. That's what actually happens as you're doing that for a long period of time. So that nice little feature of seeing the guy lower it into the low ready as he's moving around kind of adds that authenticity and realism to it, as to the movement, the overall feel. One thing I actually really liked about this game was the sidearms. The sidearms felt so fucking good in terms of taking it out, seeing how it looked in first person, then pulling it up to aim through your sights. It was a very realistic, really fluid feeling motion of being able to engage targets, get quick target acquisition, and start pumping rounds into targets quickly and effectively. It felt really, really good and smooth. That's one thing I am very, very proud to say that this game does well, is the sidearms. It feels great, and hopefully, I wish other games would do that. I saw Takedown Red Saber, and I'm looking at it, and seeing the sidearm and stuff like that, it doesn't look that good. I'm kind of disappointed in the way the sidearms looked in that game, I'm not gonna lie, because after playing this and seeing how fleshed out the sidearms are in this game, they are pretty damn really polished. They perform adequately. They're phenomenal. Sometimes I just want to run around with my sidearm only and try to engage targets, realizing that I can't do that because I'm going to get my ass handed to me and die, because, sidearms are not as effective as rifles at long range, especially. Now, the weapons in this game, you have the M4, you have the M14, the LMG, M249. Fortunately, the M249 seems a little bit underpowered at the moment. Doesn't seem very useful. It's kind of a useless weapon, actually. And the M14 is a pretty effective weapon at long range. Close quarters, not so much. The M4 with an ACOG is pretty much a solid all-around weapon. You don't really have to use any other weapon once you have the M4. It's a pretty damn good weapon to use at all times. Anyway, that pretty much covers the rest of this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Please remember to rate the video, comment the video, and subscribe if you want to see more in the future. This was PepperBelly with America's Army Proving Grounds Beta Impressions. Take care, guys.